Hi everyone, my name is Austin, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie that has pretty much turned 40 years old at this point. It turned 40 back in August, and it's one of many films that has turned 40 this year, alongside Return of the Jedi, Blue Thunder, Terms of Endearment, War Games, and many other movies I can't think of at the top of my head, but they're all 40 years old. Which makes you all feel really old because, well, 1983 isn't 30 years old anymore. That was 2013. Now it's 2023, and it's now 40. Anyway, today we're talking about Risky Business starring Tom Cruise, became a star with this film, and from director Paul Brickman. So without further ado, let's talk about it. The plot for Risky Business goes like this. This is Joel Goodson, a high school senior who lives with his wealthy parents in the Chicago North Shore of Glencoe. The said area is where movies like Ordinary People, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, Home Alone, My Best Friend's Wedding, Shattered Glass, Cheaper by the Dozen, Ocean's 12, and Contagion were filmed. Joel participates in Future Enterprisers, which is an activity meant to help students start small businesses due to his father wanting him to attend his alma mater, Princeton University, because Adams College won't accept him, and forget Faber, they're too partied out for him. When Joel's parents head out for a vacation, he decides to have a little fun while they're away, ranging from moments to be parodied on The Fairly Odd Parents, Alf, Big Time Rush, The Nanny, and South Park, driving around in his father's Porsche. He couldn't afford a 1949 Buick Roadmaster, and getting so lit. All of this, and numerous other hijinks ensue, and what follows is one of the best, most defining teen films of the 1980s, not written, produced, or directed by John Hughes, despite having some filming locations used in some of his movies. And now, we move to the production side of things. There really isn't much to give it weight here for the production side of things, but here are some facts about the film that may or may not be true depending on the source and who actually reported it. I mostly looked at what was on Wikipedia and IMDb, so I'm just going to run with whatever that I found. Anyway, for actors that were considered to play Joel, Ryan Backer, Rat from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, was cast in the role, but was soon replaced by Tom Cruise following his audition, convincing the filmmakers that he was right for the role. While John Cusack, Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Nicolas Cage, Michael J. Fox, and Cruise's best bud at the time, Sean Penn, all auditioned for the role, as did Gary Sinise, in case you wanted to know what Lieutenant Dan was like in high school. Rob Lowe mentioned turning down the role in his autobiography due to finding the film weird, while Timothy Hutton who was the first choice for Joel, said no to the film in favor of being in Sidney Lumet's Daniel, and possibly also to avoid counting his role Conrad Jarrett from Ordinary People, or at least having that archetype. Cruise then prepared for the role by doing some physical training to get the teenager look down, and for the old-time rock and roll dance, he was given the direction of just dancing to rock music. Excuse me, as opposed to that, or the other option, which was to sprout the wings of a bat, stomp like a zombie, while whistling Row 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 Your Boat to a car wash. That last one is probably going to be in the next Mission Impossible movie. Cruise has even said that director Paul Brickman wasn't too sure about casting him, believing he belonged in something like Amityville 3D, especially following his role in Taps, where at the very end, he goes completely bonkers and delivers one of the best lines in the film. At the time, Cruise had been filming The Outsiders, which saw him sport a jean vest, greasy hair, and Lloyd Christmas's chipped tooth, not to mention an Oklahoma accent, and during a meeting set up by his manager, responded by saying, "Hey, how y'all doing?" Following the wrapping of The Outsiders' filming, crews performed another audition, this time with Rebecca De Mornay, who had already been cast. And while it wasn't exactly what was expected, Brickman nevertheless believed in the actor. For the casting of Lana, or Lana, whatever you want to believe, Michelle Pfeiffer had been offered the role but turned it down. Kim Basinger said no because she didn't like the script. Brooke Shields turned down the offer in order to focus on her education at Princeton. Kobe irony. And Sharon Stone at one point auditioned for the role before De Mornay was eventually cast. As for Guido, the crazy pimp, Frank Sinatra was at one point considered to play the role, but was deemed too serious and too old, being in his 60s at the time and was not as agile as he was in his heyday, while Richard Dreyfuss was even considered to play the character, but probably due to his drug problems at the time, he never got the chance, leading to Joe Pantoliano to step up to the plate and knock this one out of the park. Meanwhile, 4 1978 Porsche 928 models were used in the movie, along with one made in 1981, including one that was gutted for the scene with the lake, and another that was painted gold, with a collector attempting to find all of the Porsches only to find just one measly model, purchasing the car for $49,200 at a 2012 Hollywood memorabilia auction, which I'm guessing was the 1981 model, or shot up in collectible prices, seeing whatever you want to call it, as the only 1979 model was sold for $1,980,000 at a different auction on September 28, 2021. When it came to director Paul Brickman, he has said that the influence for the film was Bernardo Bertolucci's The Conformist, which was a political drama about a mid-level fascist functionary in 1930s Italy, who is ordered to assassinate his former professor, who is an anti-fascist dissident in Paris, only to complicate things by pursuing an affair with the professor's wife, deciding to take that idea and make it dark, yet still humorous and lighthearted. Risky Business was also known as White Boys Off the Lake at one point before the studio demanded a title change, believing it to sound like an off-Broadway play. And Edward Neumeier, who is a scriptwriter at Warner Brothers, prior to writing films like RoboCop and Starship Troopers, wrote an 18-page report on why the film should be made, and following success, was later promoted to an executive there. One last thing to note, Paul Brickman had an entirely different ending in mind for the film, which was more bittersweet than the one shown, which still had Joel being accepted into Princeton, and he and Lana are pondering their futures at a restaurant, where Lana lets her defenses down and claims she didn't set him up, which Joel thinks is a load of crap. He then asks for her embrace, which Lana ultimately obliges. This didn't go over well with the studio, who wanted a more lighthearted conclusion compared to what Brickman wanted, because the majority of teen films had these types of endings. So both versions were shot and with a test audience, and with a test audience, I should say, and take a guess as to which one they preferred, and which one the studio went with. I have seen both versions of the end, and in all honesty, both are perfectly fine. Either one would have been alright, even if one of them is obviously a test audience ending, because test audiences aren't exactly known for favoring what the director or writers want. I do appreciate what Brickman was trying to do with the original ending, though, being much darker and melancholic in nature, due to what he intended for it to symbolize. But in the end, the producers are going to do something less dark in favor of a much happier ending, because not everyone wants to make The Last American Virgin. And with that, let's go to the final verdict. Risky Business is a pretty great film, and a film that I'm glad I finally got around to watching again. The last time I had seen it was around 2015 or 2016, and it was only when its 40th anniversary came around that I finally saw it again. And I've got to say, it still holds up. To start, the cinematography is excellent, which is always something I appreciate in a movie, as every shot feels dynamic and is indicative of a cool style that looks slick, sexy, and just perfect in general. And this was shot by two people, Bruce Surtees, who shot The Beguiled, Play Misty for Me, Dirty Harry, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, High Plains Drifter, Bloom in Love, The Outfit, Lenny, Night Moves, The Outlaw Josie Wales, The Shootist, Escape from Alcatraz, Firefox, White Dog, Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains, Honky Tonk Man, Bad Boys, the 1983 film starring Sean Penn from Halloween 2 director Rick Rosenthal, Sudden Impact, Tightrope, Beverly Hills Cop, Pale Rider, Psycho 3, Back to the Beach, License to Drive, Men Don't Leave, The Crush, and The Substitute, and Reynaldo Villalobos, who shot Urban Cowboy, 9 to 5, The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez, Lucas, Major League, American Me, A Bronx Tale, PCU, Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion, Return to Paradise, Love and Basketball, Not Another Teen Movie, and Like Dandelion Dust. And both do a good job of making the movie look as good as it does, even if both have done films featured on the Cinema Snob. The movie also has top-notch editing, ensuring that the movie doesn't slow for fear of this, boring, and not going on for too long, making it well-paced while never coming at the cost of character development and the laughs to be had here. This was handled by Richard Chew, who alongside Marcia Lucas and Paul Hirsch won an Oscar for their work on the classic Star Wars, while Chew himself has worked on The Conversation, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, My Favorite Year, Real Genius, Clean and Sober, Paul Brickman's other film Men Don't Leave, Singles, Mi Vida Loca, That Thing You Do, Shanghai Noon, The New World, and The Runaways. And overall, is good stuff here. But now we come to the performances. And before we begin, I want to talk about Tom Cruise, because I have a very mixed relationship with the actor. On one hand, when given good material, or the least of which actually does something in the film, Cruise can be charming, likable, and genuinely a cool character. Something evident in films like Rain Man, A Few Good Men, Interview with a Vampire, Jerry Maguire, Minority Report, The Last Samurai, Collateral, Edge of Tomorrow, and the entire Mission Impossible franchise. Oh, Cruise was even in one of my favorite movies of all time with Legend, where he was pretty good even when you factor in the gorgeous scenery and superb performance by Tim Curry as Darkness. On the downside though, The Mummy 2017 is a prime example of how not to start a cinematic universe. Scientology is a cult masquerading as a religion. His smile is basically like if the Joker and Norman Bates had a child, and I hate Top Gun more than anything I can think of. Move this man! So much so I can't even show pictures or clips of it, out of fear of me jumping off a cliff into a canal of raw sewage filled with alligators and a creature from the Black Lagoon. In fact, I think this best sums it up. So, yeah, Top Gun is not a pleasant experience, which means I was not too hyped for the sequel when it came out last year, and is something I will not touch under any circumstances. Unless you want to see a grown man screaming for 4 hours, in that case I still won't watch the film. But more often than not, Cruz does do a good job with whatever material he is given, and Risky Business is no exception. As Joel, Cruz is likable, charming, and doesn't make you want to strangle him with a phone cord to blue suede's cover up Hooked on a Feeling. Joel has an arc where, at first, he's this kid who wants to have fun while his parents are away, being spurred on by his friend Miles, and pretty much does whatever while they're away, ranging from the underpants dance to Bob Seger's old-time rock and roll, driving his father's Porsche, and having sex. You know, having the time of your life at that age. But as the movie goes on, and numerous shenanigans ensue, ranging from losing his mother's Steuben egg, accidentally destroying said Porsche, and going toe-to-toe with Guido, he gradually evolves into a completely different character. One that gives two less damns than before, and one that's all about making money, because that's what business is about. Cruz pulls it off excellently, and also delivers some pretty fun lines, including this one that's the perfect advertisement for Porsche.
Porsche. There is no substitute.
And my favorite line in the movie.
It's like University of Illinois.
Meanwhile, Rebecca De Mornay is pretty good as Lana, the prostitute that Joel hires, and, well, you know what happens next.
Sweet mystery of life, at last I found you. Cheese sandwiches.
From there, that's where the chaos begins, namely the missing egg and Guido. And throughout the film, she turns Joel from a boy into a man! De Mornay is sexy and charismatic, and she and Cruz have good chemistry together, which feels natural and genuine and never comes off as forced. Unlike my seventh line. I also like Joe Pantoliano as Guido, Lana's pimp who, after Joel goes looking for his mother's egg, causes a lot of grief for him. From chasing him and Lana in Joel's father's Porsche, to stealing all of Joel's family's furniture and forcing him to buy it all back, Guido is a dirty bastard, yet not as terrifying as Russell Spivey in Romance or Ramrod from Vice Squad. Pantoliano is great, oozing sleeves in a way about him that's very intimidating, and it also makes him a favorite character actor who's a joy to watch, especially in The Goonies, The Fugitive, Midnight Run, and Bad Boys. Other actors that give good performances include Curtis Armstrong as Joel's best friend Miles Dalby, the man who spurs on Joel's fun and a precursor to Booger in Revenge of the Nerds, and Nicholas Pryor and Janet Carroll as Joel's parents. Plus, keep on the lookout for Bronson Pinchot, Raphael Sbarge, Hayden Alenko from Mass Effect, Kevin Anderson, Julia Roberts' boyfriend from Sleeping with Yanny, and Lockhart, Lieutenant Shiva from the OG Battlestar Galactica, and Mega Malone. I also admire how well director Paul Brigman was able to capture all of this to the best of his abilities, in spite of not being able to have his ending. And it's kind of sad that he only directed one other feature-length film, because I could see him directing even more films, and it would have still been just as good as Risky Business, even better. But nevertheless, he made it work. He made the script work, and crafted a product that's mature, yet still fun and entertaining throughout. Lastly, the music is perfect. While yes, there is Bob Seger's old-time rock and roll, which if I were to ever parody that scene it was used in, I would probably use Phil Collins' Studio to add a little American Psycho into that scene, and maybe a little Billy Madison if I use Culture Club's I'll Tumble For Ya. There's also The Police's Every Breath You Take, Journey's After the Ball, Bruce Springsteen's Hungry Heart, and Phil Collins' masterpiece In the Air Tonight, which, when not being used for preparing to have sex on a train, is also useful for when you're in the same room as Mike Tyson. Plus songs by Talking Heads, Prince, and Jeff Beck for good measure. Not to mention, there's the excellent synthesized score by Tangerine Dream, which feels like something you'd play while driving in your car at night, which is the case with the track Love on a Real Train. It's 80s as hell. I love it. Along with most Tangerine Dreams' other ones, including the US theatrical cut of Legend and Near Dark, which also sound great. It's a pretty stellar soundtrack, and one that complements the movie quite well, all things considered. Overall, Risky Business is a risk worth taking, and is a film that tells you sometimes you gotta say, what the f***? Risky Business hit theaters on August 5th, 1983, and when it did, it grossed around $63.5 million on a budget of only $6.2 million. Meaning, yes, it did make back its budget. It was even the 10th highest grossing movie of 1983, just behind Mr. Mom, which made $1.2 million more than Risky Business, because those same people also wanted to see Michael Keaton fight with a vacuum cleaner. Risky Business, meanwhile, also gained a lot of critical success too, with many even calling it one of the best films of the year, with Roger Ebert stating the following: "New faces and inspired insights and genuine laughs. One of the smartest, funniest, and most receptive satires in a long time. Not only invites comparisons with Graduate, it earns it. Here is a great comedy about teenage sex. The very best thing about the movie is its dialogue. Paul Brickman, who wrote and directed, has an ear that he knows what to leave out. This is one of those movies where a few words or a single line says everything that needs to be said, implies everything that needs to be implied, and gets a laugh. When the hooker tells the kid, 'Oh Joel, go to school, go learn something,' the precise inflection of those words defines the relationship for the next 3 scenes. The movie has since launched Tom Cruise into stardom in both movies that show his capabilities as an actor, and movies where Patrick Swayze, Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds, Kurt Russell, or Charles Bronson should have been cast, or at least played characters that slapped him across the face and told him to grow up and shut up because when they look at him, they roll. In 2015, Entertainment Weekly placed Risky Business as number 31 of their list of the 50 best high school movies, and like I said at the beginning of this review, the underpants dance in the film has been parodied numerous times, whether it be in film, TV, or in commercials, like what Activision did for Guitar Hero World Tour's marketing, for example. Point is, Risky Business was big business back then, and it's still a classic even now. And while most will have images of Timmy Turner or Niles from The Nanny spoofing Tom Cruise in his tighty-whities, socks, and pink dress shirt dancing until the end of time, is a lot more than that, and is a very enriching experience, for sure. So that is Risky Business. Great movie. And this is a flesh wound. John's how I got it. Anyway, Risky Business is a great movie, and I highly recommend it. Whether you decide to pick it up on this DVD here, or you decide to pick it up on Blu-ray, Risky Business is fun, and a little dark, but fun all throughout. It's well shot, it's well written, the acting's pretty good, Tom Cruise is actually charming in here, and there's a pretty good soundtrack here. Overall, it's a great movie, even at 40 years old. Which is kind of strange to think that it's 40 years old, considering most people have probably put on their nice little dress shirt and danced around their underwear and socks to Bob Seger's old time rock and roll more often than you could say, let's say, I dress like a chicken and go around playing, I don't know, House at Poop Corner by Loggins and Messina. Yeah. You bet you, yeah, go do that, why don't you? Do it because some brown-haired grunge rock kid told you to, with a Pikachu hat and a Boba Fett t-shirt with a True Lies poster sitting in the background that you can't even see because this camera is not that great. Anyway, so yeah, this has been my review of Risky Business. Hope you enjoyed it, found it entertaining and educational, and made you want to seek out this movie. And to any Top Gun fans out there, don't bother with me. I don't want to deal with you. So do me a favor and just shut up and accept me for who I am. Okay? Okay. So with that, I will catch you later. I'll see you next time.
Touching my stuff!
Don't touch my stuff!
Don't you go
God!
stuff.
Okay, here we go.
They're gonna slow me down. Oh no.
Oh no!
Keep on moving.
We gotta keep
They're gonna
on
step on my
grooving.
stuff. And they're gonna slow me down. Oh no. I got to keep on moving.
Yeah, I'm slowly burning.